I never thought I'd be posting here, but after 3 sleepless nights, I need to tell this story. Some of you might think I went too far, but honestly, I'd do it all again. I'm Sarah, 28, single mom to the most amazing little girl you could imagine. Emma, who just turned 5 last month. We've been on our own since Emma was 2 when her dad decided fatherhood wasn't for him and disappeared to find himself in another state. Good riddance. Being a single mom isn't easy, especially working as an ER nurse. The shifts are brutal, sometimes 12 to 16 hours during emergencies. That's where my parents came in, or so I thought. My parents, Robert and Linda, both in their early 60s, live in this big suburban house about 20 minutes from me. They're the kind of people who care deeply about appearances. Perfectly manicured, lawn-expensive cars in the driveway, always dressed like they're going to church even when they're just getting the mail. When Emma was little, they seemed like doting grandparents. "Oh, we miss her so much when she's not here," my mom would say. "You work so hard, honey, we're happy to help." They had this whole setup, a bedroom for Emma with pink walls and a little bed shaped like a princess carriage. But there was always something that felt, but see, my younger brother Jake, 25, has a son named Tyler who's 6. Tyler is what my parents call their first grandson and their little prince. The difference in how they treated the kids was subtle at first. Small things that I told myself I was imagining because I was stressed and tired. Tyler got new toys every time he visited. Emma got hand-me-downs to teach her not to be spoiled. Tyler's drawings went straight onto the refrigerator with magnets that said future CEO and genius at work. Emma's artwork got stuffed in a drawer to keep things tidy. When Tyler had a minor scraped knee, it was a medical emergency requiring 3 phone calls to check if he needed a tetanus shot. When Emma fell off her bike and needed actual stitches, I got a text saying, "Kids will be kids," and asking when I'd pick her up. But I needed the help. Single mom, crazy work schedule, no family support system otherwise, da. So I convinced myself that as long as Emma was safe and fed, that was enough. I was wrong. So incredibly wrong. Saturday, October 14th. I'll never forget that date. I was working a weekend shift. We had 3 car accident victims come in within an hour, and the hospital was Kate around 8:20 p.m., right in the middle of trying to save a man's life. My phone buzzed with a call from Emma. Now Emma's not supposed to call me during work unless it's an absolute emergency. She knows mommy is helping sick people, so when I saw her little face on my phone screen, my heart immediately started racing. I stepped away from the trauma bay for just a second. "Mommy?" Her little voice was shaking, and I could barely hear her over what sounded like wind and rain. "Emma, baby, what's wrong? Where are you?" "Mommy, I'm outside. Grandma and Grandpa made me leave. I spilled something, and now they won't let me back in. I'm really scared and wet." The phone went dead. I've never felt terror like that moment. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely redial her number. Straight to voicemail. I tried calling my parents. Dad declined the call. Mom declined the call. I tried Jake. No answer. My supervisor, Dr. Martinez saw me falling apart and immediately told me to go. "Family emergency trumps everything, Sarah. We've got this covered." The drive to my parents' house was the longest 20 minutes of my life. It was one of those autumn storms that comes out of nowhere. Wind that rocks your car, rain so heavy you can barely see the road. I kept thinking about Emma, my tiny little girl somewhere out in this weather, because she spilled something. What kind of monster puts a 5-year-old outside in weather like this? When I pulled into my parents' driveway, I immediately saw her. Emma was standing by their tall iron gate, completely soaked, holding her little purple backpack against her chest like a shield. Her blonde hair was plastered to her head. Her pink dress, the one she'd been so excited to wear because it made her look like a princess, was muddy and clinging to her tiny frame. She was shivering so violently I could see it from 20 feet away. "Emma." I ran to her and she collapsed into my arms, sobbing. "Mommy, I tried to be good. I promise I tried to be good," she kept repeating through chattering teeth. Her lips were blue. Her forehead had a nasty bump that was already swelling. I wrapped her in my jacket and looked toward the house. Every light was on. I could see shadows moving behind the curtains. They were home. They were comfortable and dry and warm, and they had left my baby outside in a storm. I pounded on that gate for 10 solid minutes. I called their names. I called their phones. Nothing. It was like we didn't exist. That's when I heard a voice behind me. "Excuse me, dear." I turned to see Mrs. Chen, the elderly woman who lives next door to my parents. She's probably in her early 70s, a retired elementary school teacher with kind eyes and silver hair always pulled back in a neat bun. I'd seen her gardening when I dropped Emma off and she always waved, but we'd never really talked. She was standing under a big golf umbrella wearing a raincoat and holding what looked like a USB drive. "I'm so sorry to bother you during this," she said, "but I think you need to see something. I couldn't just stand by and watch anymore." She gestured toward her house. "I have security cameras. They caught what happened tonight. I think you need to know the truth." Mrs. Chen led us to her covered front porch and handed me the USB drive with shaking hands. "I've been a teacher for 45 years," she said quietly. "I've seen a lot of difficult family situations. But what I witnessed tonight, what they did to that sweet baby, I couldn't sleep knowing I didn't speak up." She looked down at Emma, who was still clinging to me and shivering. "Sweetheart," Mrs. Chen said gently to Emma, "would you like to come inside for some hot chocolate while your mommy and I talk?" Emma nodded, and something about Mrs. Chen's kind voice seemed to calm her immediately. Mrs. Chen's living room was exactly what you'd expect from a retired teacher. Bookshelves everywhere, photos of former students, the kind of cozy warmth that makes you feel safe immediately. She got Emma settled with a blanket hot chocolate and a coloring book while she pulled up the security footage on her laptop. "I installed these cameras after some break-ins in the neighborhood last year," she explained. "They cover my front yard and part of your parents' property. I never expected to capture something like this." The timestamp showed 7:45 p.m. The footage was crystal clear, high-definition camera with excellent audio quality since my parents' dining room window was open to let in the cool evening air. What I saw made my blood run cold. The video showed Emma and Tyler sitting at my parents' dining room table. It was clearly some kind of special dinner, fancy place settings, wine glasses, what looked like a celebration. Tyler was wearing a little button-down shirt and talking animatedly about something. Emma was sitting quietly, using her napkin properly, being the polite little girl I'd taught her to be. She reached across the table for what looked like a dinner roll, and her elbow bumped a wine glass. Red wine spilled across the white tablecloth. Tyler immediately started laughing and pointing. "Emma's so stupid. Look what she did, Grandma." My mother's reaction was instantaneous and terrifying. "You clumsy little brat!" She screamed loud enough that I could hear every word through the papa camera. That was a $300 bottle of wine that was Tyler's celebration wine for his school achievement. Emma's face immediately crumpled. "I'm sorry, Grandma, I didn't mean to. I can clean it up." But my mother was just getting started. "Don't touch anything else. You ruin everything you touch. Look at this mess." She grabbed Emma's arm. I could see my baby wince in pain, and yanked her away from the table. My father joined in. "This is exactly why we can't have nice things when she's here. Tyler earned this special dinner, and she ruined it, like she ruins everything." "I'm sorry." Emma was crying now, that heartbreaking cry of a child who doesn't understand why adults are so angry. "Please don't be mad. I'll be more careful." Jake, sitting there the whole time, just laughed. Maybe now she'll learn to be more careful around Tyler's things. What happened next still gives me nightmares. My mother dragged Emma toward the front door. "You're going to sit outside and think about what you've done. Maybe sometime in the rain will teach you to respect other people's belongings." "But it's storming," Emma sobbed. "Should have thought of that before you ruined Tyler's dinner," my father said coldly. They opened the door, tossed her little backpack out into the rain, and sent my 5-year-old daughter out into the storm. Emma knocked on the door, crying and asking to be let back in. Through the window, I could see my parents calmly cleaning up the spilled wine while Tyler got a big slice of cake, completely unbothered by Emma's distress outside. The video showed Emma standing in the rain for about 20 minutes before she finally called me from my old phone I'd given her for emergencies. I was shaking so hard I could barely breathe. Mrs. Chen saw my reaction and immediately moved to comfort me. "I'm so sorry you had to see that, but I knew you needed to know what really happened." I looked at Emma coloring peacefully at Mrs. Chen's kitchen table, finally, warm and dry and safe. The bump on her forehead was more visible now, clearly from when they pushed her and she hit the doorframe. In that moment, I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to scream at my parents. I wasn't going to bang on their door demanding an explanation. I wasn't going to give them the chance to gaslight me or make excuses or somehow turn this into my fault. I was going to destroy them systematically, using their own actions as the weapon. "Mrs. Chen," I said, "would you be willing to provide this video as evidence if needed?" Her eyes flashed with determination. "Absolutely. I spent my career protecting children. I'm not about to stop now." I took Emma home, got her into warm pajamas, and tucked her into bed with extra blankets and her favorite stuffed elephant. Mommy, she whispered as I was turning off her light, why don't Grandma and Grandpa love me like they love Tyler? That question broke my heart and solidified my resolve at the same time. Baby, sometimes adults make very bad choices, but that's not about you. You are perfect exactly as you are, and anyone who doesn't see that doesn't deserve to be in your life. Once Emma was asleep, I got to work. Sunday morning, I took Emma to urgent care. The doctor documented everything, the bump on her forehead, signs of mild hypothermia, the emotional distress. I was completely honest about what happened, and the doctor was horrified. This is child endangerment, Dr. Williams said bluntly. A 5-year-old in a storm, this needs to be reported. I plan to, I said. I just want to make sure I do everything right. As Monday morning, I took a personal day from work. My first stop was the police station. Officer Martinez, no relation to Dr. Martinez from the hospital, just a coincidence, listened to my story and watched the security footage. His face grew darker with every second. This is clear child endangerment and emotional abuse, he said. We're opening an investigation immediately. My second stop was Child Protective Services. The social worker Janet Thompson was a woman probably in her 50s who'd clearly seen everything, but even she was shocked by the video. In 25 years of doing this job, she said, I've rarely seen such clear documentation of willful child endangerment. We'll be conducting a full investigation. My third stop was a family lawyer. David Park specialized in custody and family protection cases. You have an incredibly strong case, he said. This video evidence is damning. We can seek a restraining order and permanent supervised visitation restrictions. But I wasn't done, not even close. Tuesday afternoon, I did something that some people might think was too far, but I have zero regrets about. I had the video professionally transcribed by a court reporting service. Every word, every scream, every cruel comment was documented in black and white. Then I had 30 copies printed and bound. I mailed one copy to every single person in our extended family. My dad's 3 brothers, my mom's 2 sisters, all the cousins, family friends, people from their church, their neighbors. The cover letter was simple. This is what your brother, our sister, our friend did to my 5-year-old daughter on October 14th. The attached transcript is from security camera footage of them throwing Emma out in a thunderstorm for accidentally spilling wine. I thought you should know who they really are. I also posted the transcript on Facebook and tagged every family member. No dramatic commentary, no emotional pleas. Just the facts presented clearly and undeniably. The response was swift and devastating. Wednesday morning, my phone started ringing. My Uncle Dave, my dad's oldest brother, was the first call. Sarah, I just read what you sent. Please tell me this isn't real. Uncle Dave, I have the video if you want to see it. Mrs. Chen's security camera caught everything. The silence on the other end lasted nearly a minute. Those bastards, he finally said. I can't believe my own brother would do something like this. Emma's such a sweet little girl. The calls kept coming. Aunt Patricia, Cousin Michelle, family friend Barbara from church, all of them horrified, all of them furious with my parents. My mom tried calling me around noon. I declined. She called again, declined. She left a voicemail. Sarah, honey, there's been a big misunderstanding. People are saying terrible things about us. We need to talk and clear this up. Emma just needed to learn a lesson about being more careful. I deleted it without finishing it. My dad texted, "You're destroying this family over a simple discipline issue. Emma is fine. Stop being so dramatic." I blocked his number. By Thursday, my parents had lost 3 major friendships. Their church group was concerned about their judgment with children. My dad's brother Dave told him he was disgusted and didn't want them around his own grandchildren until they got professional help. My cousin Jennifer posted on Facebook, "Anyone who would throw a 5-year-old out in a storm doesn't deserve the title of grandparent. Team Emma all the way." The post got 89 likes and 34 comments, all supporting Emma and condemning my parents. Friday brought the official CPS visit to my parents' house. They were informed that they were under investigation for child endangerment and that they were prohibited from having unsupervised contact with any minors pending the outcome. Jake called me that afternoon and his tone was completely different than I expected. Sarah, I didn't know it was that bad. When Mom and Dad told me what happened, they said Emma had a tantrum and they just put her in timeout on the covered porch for a few minutes. Jake, did you watch the video I sent the family? Long pause. I couldn't finish it. Seeing Emma like that and hearing myself laugh? His voice cracked. I thought I was just supporting Tyler, but I was part of hurting a little kid. I'm so sorry, Sarah. Sorry doesn't fix what happened. I know, Lisa and I are in counseling now. We realize we've been raising Tyler to think he's more important than other kids, and that's not okay. We're moving because we need a fresh start and distance from mom and dad's influence. The following week brought even more consequences. My parents had been active members of St. Matthew's Presbyterian Church for over 20 years. The pastor, Reverend Williams, made a house call. According to my Aunt Patricia, who still talks to the pastor's wife, Reverend Williams told my parents that several congregation members had expressed concerns about their treatment of Emma and that they were being asked to take some time for reflection before returning to their volunteer roles with the children's ministry. Their weekly bridge club disbanded after two members said they didn't feel comfortable socializing with people who would endanger a child. The HOA president received complaints about a disturbance at their house, Emma crying outside the gate, and sent them a formal warning about compliance with community standards. My mother's book club expelled her after the other members said her actions were inconsistent with the values of women supporting women and children. One by one, my parents were being isolated by their own actions. 3 weeks after the incident, it was time for the annual memorial dinner for my grandmother, my dad's mother, who had passed away 5 years earlier. This dinner was a huge deal. Every year, the whole extended family gathered at my parents' house to remember Grandma Rose and share stories. My parents had been hosting this dinner since Grandma Rose died. It was their big family event, the one time a year when they got to be the center of attention and play the role of family patriarch and matriarch. This year, nobody came. Uncle Dave hosted the dinner at his house instead, and specifically did not invite my parents. All 3 of Dad's brothers attended. Both of Mom's sisters came. 8 cousins, 17 grandchildren, family friends who'd known Grandma Rose. They had their own memorial dinner, shared their own stories, and celebrated Grandma Rose's memory together. My parents sat alone in their big house with a dining room set for 20 people and a memorial table that nobody came to see. My mom called me crying that night. Sarah, the whole family came together tonight to remember Grandma Rose, and we weren't even invited. Our own family doesn't want us there. This has gone too far. Mom, I said calmly, you made your choice when you threw Emma out in a storm. Grandma Rose would be ashamed of you. We were just trying to teach her a lesson. You were trying to hurt a child because she accidentally spilled something, and now you're facing the consequences. She hung up sobbing. A month after the incident, CPS completed their preliminary investigation. The result was what I'd expected. My parents were found to have committed child endangerment and emotional mistreatment. The official report stated that putting a 5-year-old outside during a severe weather event constituted willful endangerment, and that the emotional treatment documented in the video showed concerning patterns. They were temporarily restricted from unsupervised contact with any minor children, and were required to complete parenting classes and counseling before any supervised visits could be considered. The case would remain open for 6 months with regular check-ins. The police investigation concluded similarly, though they decided not to press criminal charges due to Emma's young age and my preference to handle things through the family court. My lawyer filed for a permanent restraining order, which was granted immediately based on the video evidence. The most important part of this whole story is how Emma handled everything. Kids are incredibly resilient, but they also need support to process traumatic experiences. I found her an amazing child therapist, Dr. Jennifer Walsh, who specializes in family trauma. Emma goes twice a week, and it's helped enormously. At first, Emma kept asking why Grandma and Grandpa didn't love her like they loved Tyler. Dr. Walsh helped her understand that the problem wasn't with her. The problem was with adults who made bad choices. Emma's stopped asking about her grandparents entirely. When people ask about them, she just says, I don't see them anymore, but that's okay because I have other people who love me. And she does. Mrs. Chen has become like a grandmother to Emma, the kind of loving, supportive grandmother every child deserves. Emma helps her in her garden, and Mrs. Chen teaches her to bake cookies. They have tea parties and read books together. Emma calls her Grandma Chen, and Mrs. Chen's eyes light up every time she hears it. It's been 6 months since the incident, and the consequences for my parents have been lasting and severe. They've lost most of their social circle, their church community, their family connections, their reputation in the neighborhood. Jake and his family moved to another state, claiming they needed a fresh start away from all the drama. Translation, they couldn't handle being associated with what my parents did. My parents have tried multiple times to reach out, Cards for Emma's birthday returned unopened Christmas presents donated to charity, attempts to contact me through flying monkeys blocked and ignored. Last month, they showed up at Emma's school and tried to pick her up, claiming they were her emergency contacts. The school security footage shows my mother crying and begging to see Emma while my father argued with the principal. The school called the police, and my parents were escorted off the property and banned from school grounds. Their last attempt was 2 weeks ago. They hired a lawyer and tried to file for grandparents' rights. Their lawyer dropped them after seeing the security video and realizing they had no case whatsoever. Emma just turned 6 and she's thriving. She's confident, happy, and surrounded by people who love her unconditionally. She's doing well in school, has great friends, and loves her weekly visits with Grandma Chen. She doesn't ask about her biological grandparents anymore. When she talks about family, she mentions me, Grandma, Chen, Uncle Dave, who sends her birthday cards, and Cousin Jennifer, who takes her for ice cream once a month. As for my parents, I honestly don't know how they're doing, and I don't care. They made their choice when they prioritized their golden grandchild over basic human decency toward a 5-year-old. I've built a new support system for Emma and me. Mrs. Chen, Uncle Dave, some cousins who reached out after everything happened, and amazing friends who have become chosen family. We're happy. We're safe. We're loved. Some people think I went too far in exposing my parents to the entire family and community. They say I should have given them a chance to explain or apologize. But here's the thing, there is no explanation or apology that makes putting a 5-year-old out in a storm okay. There is no excuse for prioritizing one grandchild over another to the point of abuse. My job as Emma's mother is to protect her, not to protect the feelings of people who hurt her. I used their own actions against them. I didn't lie, I didn't exaggerate, I didn't manipulate the truth. I simply showed people who they really were when they thought nobody was watching. And you know what? I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Emma deserves better than grandparents who see her as less than. She deserves people in her life who celebrate her, not people who punish her for existing. My parents destroyed their own relationships through their choices. I just made sure everyone knew what those choices were. A lot of people have been asking for updates, so here's what's happened in the last few weeks. Emma started taking piano lessons with Mrs. Chen, who taught piano for 30 years before becoming an elementary school teacher. Emma's natural talent is amazing, and Mrs. Chen says she has the hands of a future pianist. My parents attempted to contact Mrs. Chen directly asking her to help them reconcile with their family. Mrs. Chen told them that anyone who would endanger a child has no place in that child's life and asked them not to contact her again. Tyler's parents, Jake and his wife, sent a card apologizing for their role in the incident and asking if Emma and Tyler could have a supervised playdate. I declined. Tyler is an innocent kid, but he's been raised to believe he's more important than other children, and I won't subject Emma to that dynamic. CPS closed their case with a permanent notation in their file. If they ever attempt to have contact with any minor children, this incident will be part of their background check. Uncle Dave invited Emma and me to Thanksgiving this year, along with most of the extended family. It'll be Emma's first big family gathering with people who actually love and value her. And finally, Emma told me last week that she's glad the mean grandparents don't come around anymore because now there's more room for people who are nice. Out of the mouths of babes. Am I the asshole for using evidence of their abuse to permanently destroy their family relationships instead of giving them a chance to explain? Story 2. The plan was to have another uncomfortable family meal. It had taken me all morning to choose a modest cake from the only bakery in town that still produced my mom's favorite lemon icing. A little arrangement of flowers and something happy that didn't shout duty. Each year, I convinced myself maybe this time she will see me and smile. Perhaps she wouldn't appear to have had her day spoiled by my presence this time. When I arrived, the house smelled of cooked chicken and pricey perfume, yet the mood was frigid. As if she were their only daughter, my parents were laughing at something my sister said while she sat at the table all decked up. When I intervened, my mother didn't even look up. Please leave a comment letting us know where you are seeing this video and subscribe to our channel. I gently held out the flowers and said, "Hello, Mom. Cheers to your birthday." When she finally turned to face me, she scanned the arrangement as if it were offensive. She didn't express gratitude. Rather, she cocked her head and curled her lips into the ruthless practice grin that had plagued me since I was a young girl. What would be the ideal present? She spoke loudly enough to be heard by everybody. Today would be ideal if you would simply stop being in my life. The comment struck me more forcefully than any previous insult she had spoken. She's not wrong, my sister muttered as she snorted into her wine glass. As if it were a common joke, my dad simply grinned. The room became hazy. I could feel my heart thumping in my ears. For a second, I considered asking why. Find out what I did incorrectly. On her own birthday, what sort of mother would wish her child away, however, I didn't. With trembling hands, I delicately placed the flowers on the table and spoke softly. I understand. Do not be concerned. You will have just what you desire. My mother turned back to my sister and waved a dismissive hand. You're useful for once. I left that residence without turning around. With each stride, the pain of humiliation intensifies. And I didn't return this time. Weeks passed. Weeks turned into months. The phone did not ring. Not once. Not to inquire about my well-being. Not that they felt bad about what they had said. I seemed to have vanished from the world. My sister was the only one that texted. I simply wanted to share a photo of my former bedroom, which has been painted and redecorated and is now being used. Far away, I created a life. I don't have family pictures on my walls. No reminders of those who made my house feel like a visitor. I no longer anticipated an apology. I gave up on the idea that they would ever consider me more than a bother that they would like to get rid of. Although it was peaceful and occasionally lonely, my existence was free. Free from what they said. Free from making fun of my own family's history. Until 3 years later. An unknown number rang on my phone. I choose to disregard it. Then came an email. Family reunion is the subject line. You are necessary to us. There was no apology in the message. It wasn't a we're sorry or we miss you. It was a really desperate plea. For the next anniversary celebration, we are organizing a large family picture album. Everyone must be present, yet your face is absent. To have a hole where you should be would be humiliating. Don't cause a scene, please. Come only for the pictures. We care about it. Bile rose in my throat as I read it 3 times. Silence for 3 years. They were happy to forget 3 years of being the daughter I was now required. Not for family or affection, but only to fill in a photo's vacant area. A prop for their flawless persona. For the first time since the evening of my mother's birthday, I did not cry as I sat there looking at the email. I didn't plead. Why they detested me so much was not a mystery to me. I simply felt a clarity that was sharper than any razor settle inside of me. For their record, they were looking for a face. They desired to project the appearance of a family that they had never really had. I wasn't going to return as an afterthought this time. I was not returning to try to belong and smile sweetly. They wanted me and I was going to give it to them and make sure they never again asked for me. An early spring Saturday afternoon was chosen for the reunion. Although the email said that it was for family, only the location they selected was a banquet hall that had been booked and decorated to resemble a picture-perfect dream, complete with a white tablecloth, gold-trimmed frames, banners reading, and celebration of 30 years of family memories. The hypocrisy was quite comical. After standing outside the hall for a while, I entered my own reflection and stared back through the glass door. The face they hadn't desired for years was mine. Suddenly, they needed the one my mother referred to as the finest gift to lose in order to finish their picture. At that moment, I made a self-promise to not enter those doors in silence. It was all staged inside. In a glittering outfit, my mother stood next to the head table, beaming broadly at the few family members who genuinely believed her family was content. To ensure that every decoration was flawless, my sister swooped about like a queen. My father shouted directions for the professional photographer to follow. It was only because people were observing me that his normally acerbic tone softened. My mother froze for a moment. Her face briefly flashed with surprise before the phony grin returned. She approached me with her arms partially extended but rigid, as if the move had cost her something. You succeeded. She spoke in a tone brimming with fake warmth, loud enough for others to hear. We are very grateful that you are here. I spoke evenly while tilting my head. You certainly wouldn't want your ideal album to have a blank area in place of your undesired child. She tightened her grin. Eyes darting about to make sure no one heard, she murmured angrily, Let's not start. Be amiable today. I agree. As though I were a mannequin. Something they could pretend that they hadn't thrown me away while still making their family appear whole. I looked at the tables, sipping wine and laughing cousins, old pictures from earlier times, laid out in plain sight, my sister's photos from each milestone birthday celebration, commencements, holidays. I hardly ever showed my face, and when it did, I was clipped out or blurred in the background as if I had been a ghost even when I was living in their house. The photographer came over, happy and oblivious to the situation. Time for a group photo, he remarked, motioning for everyone to assemble. My mother drew my sister next to her as she herded everyone into position. Her voice fell to a hiss as she turned to face me. Place yourself on the end. You shouldn't sabotage the center shot. Something hardened within of me. I approached the center and gazed directly between my parents. My mother hissed, "Move," while digging her fingernails into my arm. I stared straight forward. My voice is quiet, yet loud enough for anyone in the vicinity to hear. It's funny. You told me that the greatest present I could give you was to vanish 3 years ago. I must now make you appear to be a mother. A silence descended upon us. I persisted even though my dad tensed up and balled his fist at his side. Now louder. It's a fake this family album. Remember you didn't want me in your life? All you want is my face to hide the truth from strangers. Because there is only space for one girl in our household. And I was never the one. Individuals moved uneasily. Not knowing what to do, the photographer froze. Anger caused my sister's cheeks to flush crimson. She didn't have a comeback, though, for once. My mother's grin broke, revealing the bitterness underneath the mask just enough for everyone to see. Despite my pounding pulse, I spoke steadily as I moved away from the gathering. You want my departure. You said that I was the issue. I thus provided you what you requested. And now you're requesting that I mend the hole you made in your own idealized vision. No. There were murmurs among the crowd. Family members looked at one another, murmuring. Knowing that their carefully cultivated image was collapsing in front of everyone they wished to impress, my parents remained still, their faces pallid. I didn't hold off till they responded. Speaking loud enough for the entire crowd to hear, I grabbed up one of the empty frames intended for their memories and held it up to the photographer. This is the reality. You desired a picture of your family. Put this in a frame. Me leaving. Just like you said to me 2 or 3 years ago. They were left standing in the ruins of their fictitious celebration as I turned and made my way to the door. My heart was racing, but I felt lighter for the first time in years. It wasn't over yet, not just yet. They had desired my erasure, wanted to polish their lie by wanting my face, to ensure they could never pretend again, though I had one last move in mind. The ideal fairy tale would never be the album they so desperately desired. They had a dream. There would be truth in it. One that would haunt them each time they attempted to smile for a camera was too important to burn or bury. A cousin who had attended the banquet copied me on the family chat, which I had been banned from years prior, and it suddenly exploded with messages I wasn't supposed to see the week after the disastrous reunion. My mother was upset, saying I had made fun of her without cause. My sister claimed that I had ruined their celebration and referred to me as a jealous ghost. My father swore that I had always been fortunate and dramatic. They even allowed me to appear. But among all the noise, one message was clear. She cannot destroy the album. We'll simply insert her into the picture and make it look like she was grinning. It resembled a chest punch. Then something sharper and darker took hold. Despite everything, including publicly humiliating them, they continued to not see me as a human being. Simply a face they could insert to create the appearance of a contented family, a prop for their ideal lie. I made the decision to give them an album that they would never be able to remove. Never. Whoa, never forget. I made contact with every family member and friend who had subtly discussed my parents' cruelty with me over the years. Many of them were willing to speak up at last, though some were hesitant and some were afraid. I gathered their recollections, letters, and old pictures of the times my parents had passed away. Images of my sister unwrapping presents and me sitting by myself in a corner during the holidays. Birthday dinners where they failed to bring me a plate, and presents the size of mountains. I went to school concerts, but nobody came. After that, I snapped the pictures my parents had meticulously selected for their grand album. Each of them made up a tale of warmth and affection. But now, beneath a family beach photo, there was a caption that was honest, indisputable, and written in their own handwriting from old notes, letters, or words they had once spit at me. The only reason we brought you was to prevent inquiries under a Christmas photo. The large presents are given to your sister. You're not worthy of them. And I wish we'd only had one child on the back of their treasured first day of school photo. These truth captions numbered in the hundreds. Every guest who attended that reunion banquet received a copy of the heavy leather-bound album I printed out. I sent copies to their church, their neighbors, and the photographer they had hired. Everybody opened what they believed to be the gleaming family masterpiece. Instead, they discovered a tale of decades of cruelty, partiality, and intentional emotional scarring, something my parents were extremely proud of. My parents were unable to avoid it. The album had been seen wherever they went. They were unable to explain away the old photographs or deny the handwriting. Couldn't act as though it wasn't real. When individuals acknowledged their own words and behaviors, the friends of my mom began to ask pointed questions. My dad was viewed differently by his colleagues. The truth they had attempted to hide from me had shattered the facade of the ideal devoted parents they had spent 30 years creating. My mother sent me a single text message a few weeks later. No salutations, no justifications. You've ruined everything in just 4 words. Everything. I took a long look at the screen before responding. My heart is finally quiet and my hands are steady. You did, Mom. I simply ensured that it was visible to all. I felt liberated from them for the first time in my life. It was because I had demonstrated to the world the type of family I had been ejected from, not because they had forced me out. I followed their advice that leaving their life was the best gift. However, they will now remember that the daughter they erased left behind something they can never burn or fake every time they turn the pages of that damned album or see someone look at them pityingly. The reality. Please leave a comment letting us know where you are seeing this video and subscribe to our channel.